prayers from the Golden Prayer Books, page 73. To the founder of the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of God and human beings, to you, the completely and awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one. The endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of humans to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O Supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, and then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, to you, our Lord, to you I prostrate. With supreme signs, face like a spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior, having great compassion, the Founder, having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated, and also who show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dhamma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, and all aspects, with supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly, this is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew, or a blood hole. A dream, a flash of lightning, cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sinning beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the flow of faults, and delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. The Heart Sutra. As we mentioned last night, visualize all the sinning beings around us. Visualize the Buddhas in the space in front, giving the teaching as we recite. And us and all sinning beings attaining all the realizations contained within the text as we receive this teaching directly from Buddha. Taita Om Dari Dari Bindari Soha, 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 Taita Om Dari Dari Bindari Soha. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem, thus did I hear at one time. The Bhagavan was dwelling on Master's Vulture's Mountain in Rajgriha together with a great community of monks. Hello? We're on the bottom of page 76, the Heart Sutra.
Yeah, I'm reciting by memory.
Okay. So again, please recite out loud. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on Masters of Vulture's Mountain in Manchgiriya, together with a great community of monks and a great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, Aryavatara, looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Aryavatara: how should any son of lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Aryavatara said this to the Venerable Shariputra: Shariputra, any son of lineage or daughter of lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form. Form, it is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, are produced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomena. There is no I element, and so on, up to and including no mind element and no mental conscious element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no result of wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifestly, completely awaken to the unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared, Taita Om Gati Gati Pada Gati Pada Sam Gati Bodhi Swaha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan rose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Aryavatara, saying, well said, son of lineage, it is like that. It is like that. Once you practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated, even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, Bodhisattva Mahasattva Aryavatara, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, asuras, and others, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan. Extensive dispelling of hindrances. I and all surrounding sentient beings go for refuge to the Buddha, go for refuge to the Dharma, go for refuge to the Sangha. We prostrate to the Great Mother Prajnaparamita, wisdom gone beyond, surrounded by all the children and by the assemblies of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. By depending on my prostrations to all of you, may these words of truth be actualized. In the past, the Devi King Indra dispelled the Maras by reflecting on the profound meaning of the wisdom gone beyond and reciting the profound words in daily recitation. In that same way, I also reflect on the profound meaning of the Great Mother Prajnaparamita and recite the profound words in daily recitation. May all diseases, spirit possession, bad conditions, all the negative directions, that which happened due to past karma and immediate conditions, may all this be dispelled, may it become non-existent, may it be passed away. I prostrate to the gathering of the kings and the chakras who guide in the holy yoga of using space. By your powers of clairvoyance and magical emanation, looked after practitioners like a mother her child. Aka Samara Shadara Samarake. Aka Samara Samarake. Samara Sashandara Samaraya Pe Tayata Om Gatigate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. By the teachings of the three supreme jewels possessing the power of truth, may inner and outer hindrances be transformed, may they be dispelled, may they be pacified. Shintum Kuriya Soha. May all negative forces opposed to Dharma be completely pacified. May the host of 80,000 obstacles be pacified. May we be separated from problems and harmful conditions to Dharma. May all enjoyments be in accord with the Dharma. And may there be auspiciousness and perfect happiness here, right now. Okay, so as I mentioned last night, these prayers that we do at the beginning of the teaching do two things. One, we remember the kindness of the Buddha, who trained very long and hard so that he could attain enlightenment. So that he could then share the path, the methods that he used, so we can also follow in his footsteps. And then particularly the Heart Sutra is a very profound way to remove obstacles, obstacles of any kind, obstacles for, of course, worldly life, but here in this case, the more important thing is to remove obstacles for our Dharma studies and practice. So where I am, in the monastery, where we're engaged in the traditional study program, then every day during debate, we always come together as the monastic assembly and recite prayers, including the Heart Sutra, the praises to 21 Paras, praise to the white umbrella deity, Dukar. Anyway, all these various prayers are said to remove obstacles and collect extensive merit. The lineage teachers, they said, there's some kind of poetic way to say it in Tibetan, but the point is, if you want to study this much, this much, then you need a sack full of merit. You understand? So that's important. Not just to think, oh, I'm engaged in this extensive study and treat it like some academic subject, but also take care to, one, try to integrate the teachings in our life, in our practice. As we said yesterday, with the 6 attitudes that we should come to the teachings with, right? The first is thinking of ourselves as a sick patient, thinking of the instructor as a doctor, thinking of the Dharma as medicine, then thinking of continued practice as the way to health or the cure. Okay? So even as Shantideva says in this text that we're going to start today, You know? Um, Something like, does anyone become cured merely by reading the medicinal texts? Right? Yes, okay, sorry. Therefore, having thought about this well, I should try to put these precepts into practice just as they have been explained. If the doctor's instructions are ignored, how will a patient in need of a cure be healed by the medicine? Understand? Okay. So that's one thing, and the second thing is to, continue to work on our, practices to accumulate merit and purify negativities. Then merit or good karma is the cause for any type of success, whether it be worldly activities or especially with like our Dharma studies or practice. So please keep that in mind. Okay, so good morning. All right. So now we're still at the beginning of what I consider to be a very fortunate occurrence, unbelievably fortunate. We are now teaching or studying the Bodhisattva by the great Indian Master Shantideva. So we had our first session last night, and well, some of you were here, some of you were not. Then some of the people who were here yesterday, then I don't see today. Okay? So, we're recording these teachings for the benefit of, beings who can't make it for whatever reason. So, anyway, there will be a conversation that takes place soon because, we had started, at least in name, to start this, the FPMT basic program, which is a multi-year, multi-module study course. And, well, there are certain criteria that were laid out for people who want to engage in the course. And it seems, does anyone want to play a guessing game? Ravi, how are you? Okay, so we can play a game. We did the Heart Sutra module, right? Okay? Then, of the people, of the center, how many people fulfilled the requisites, the criteria for, actually passing the module? Just guess.
7.
7. 1 maybe. So the maybe part is right. So at this point, no one did. Okay? So, then, so, no one did. So now we are having this conversation, like, okay, maybe we need to water down the criteria, make it easier for you guys, right? We need to, spoon feed, right? Maybe breastfeed you guys. Maybe like your parents used to do, like check if you've done your homework before you can watch TV. What do you think? So, anyway, there is a conversation that's going to happen about to what level of, seriousness we do this Bodhisattva Charyavatara, right? So, it's not for me to dictate for you guys, but, with no kind of value judgment, then you should think to what level you're able to commit, and then, we can go from there, right? So, anyway. So last night, I did start in the traditional way by talking about the 3 outlines that are discussed prior to engaging in a teaching that was practiced by the great scholars of the ancient Indian monastery Vikramalashila, right? And those 3 outlines are first, before a teaching is given, to discuss the greatness of the author of the teaching, to discuss the greatness of the teaching, and then to discuss how then to engage in listening and actually teaching. Okay? So the first 2 are to engender a sense of enthusiasm and enthusiasm about the opportunity to study. Okay? So without getting into it too much, I think the important thing here is these teachings contained within this text give us all of the tools for us to attain the fully complete state of enlightenment. You understand? I don't think you do. So it's really amazing that, these methods, right? So can you please try to think about this, right? From beginningless samsara, okay? In the Buddhist cosmology, there's no beginning to samsara. There's no beginning to mind, okay? So even that is very unfathomable, right? So just try to think about that. Beginningless time, okay? So since beginningless time, we've been experiencing the sufferings of samsara over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? So, like Nagarjuna says in the letter to a friend, right? If you were to pile up all of the bones from the skeletons that we've had, from the bodies we've taken since beginning with samsara, they would create a stack much higher than Mount Sumeru. Yeah. Understand? If you were to collect all the, here we go with the breast milk again, but all the breast milk that we've drunk, it would be greater than the great ocean. Similarly, if you were to collect all the tears that we've cried when we've been separated from our loved ones, either dying or our girlfriends breaking up with us on New Year's Eve, it would also be greater than the great ocean. if you collect, all of the filth that we ate while we were born as worms, it'd be greater than the earth. You understand? So thinking in that way, it should really disgust us. But even worse, if we don't get liberation, if we don't get enlightenment, then there will be no end to the amount of bodies, breast milk, filth, and tears that we'll have to have in the future. You understand? So, samsara has no beginning, and unless we get liberation, it'll also have no end. You understand? So now thinking about, really what kind of predicament we're in, right? We then need to really become kind of disgusted that we're in samsara, right? And, make the decision, okay, I need to do something about this situation. The thought of us having to take one more rebirth within samsara should be, completely nauseating to us. Okay? It's like, just unbearable. Okay? So that's the bad news. That's the bad news. Actually, that's the horrible news. That's the worst news ever. But there's also some good news. The good news is, although, samsara has no beginning and will have no end unless we attain liberation or enlightenment, well, liberation, enlightenment is possible, and the best basis for which to attain it is this body that you have right now. I will go out on a small limb and say, remember beginningless time till now? Okay? Actually, the best opportunity that you've ever had since beginningless time to attain liberation and enlightenment is this life you have right now. Okay? I can say that with maybe 99.99999% certainty. What do you think? Huh? You think so? And even if I'm wrong, okay, even if we did have a better opportunity in the past, even if we were a direct disciple of, maybe we're a direct disciple of the Buddha, okay, what happened? Oh, it's like, we didn't attain liberation then. Maybe the Buddha was giving, the Heart Sutra on a Sunday morning, right? In Vulture's Peak. And we're like, oh man, 10 a.m., what about my brunch? I want to have eggs Benedict. So we didn't go to Vulture's Peak, to Rajaria. Right? So even as Shantideva says in this text that we're getting to in a minute, although countless Buddhas have appeared in the past, I was not an object of their care due to my own mistakes. Okay? So it's either two things, right? actually most of the time, you know, we have been reborn in samsara in the so-called lower realms of existence, as animals, as these kind of pretas, or hungry ghosts as they call it, right? States of existence whereby, you know, we didn't have opportunity to practice. Or even if we were born as a human in the past, the Buddhas arise so rarely in the world that we didn't meet with the Buddha's teachings. Then those rare instances, maybe 1 in a trillion, where we did meet, we had the level of engagement and seriousness about the teachings as well as we do now. Right? As they say, if you want to know what you've been doing or what you did in your past life, look to what you're doing now. Right? If you want to know where you'll be in your future life, look to what you're doing now. Right? Understand? So, as Shantideva says, you know, if I continue to act like this, means not practicing, right? Again and again, I shall undergo suffering in the unhappy realms, sickness, bondage, laceration, and shedding of blood. If the arising of the Tathagata, the Buddha, right, faith, and the attainment of a human body, and my being fit to cultivate virtue are scarce, when will they be one again? Or, as he also says, you know, like, now that you have attained this human, this boat of a human existence, use it to cross the great river of suffering. This kind of boat will not be found again, so there's no time to sleep, you fool. Understand? Anyway. Does it seem like I'm in a bad mood? Anyway, there's these two sides that we have to kind of balance between, right? When we are getting a bit lazy, okay, then actually these meditations on the preciousness of our, you know, human rebirth, the preciousness of the opportunity we have to practice Dharma, the suffering of the lower realms, the sufferings of samsara, the inevitability of death, you know, all these things give us that jolt, that kick in the pants to help overcome our laziness. Okay? And I'm going to be frank with you guys, because of those statistics from the last module, yeah? I think that's our bigger worry here. Yeah? What do you think? I was, by the way, just so you know, Anita, I was going to have the people from the Heart Sutra, you know, there was one homework assignment to memorize the Heart Sutra. I was going to have all of you recite it from memory in front of everyone. But, how many could do that? Really?
Oh,
Okay. Huh? What's that? Shani's like this. She's like, okay, let me hide it behind the tripod. Okay. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Okay, but I'm not going to do that. But, you know, I reserve the right to do that, just out of nowhere. Right? And, you know, even like 3 months from now, you might think, oh, we're now safely in the Bodhisattva no, Heart Sutra. that's old news. No. We don't do that. It's not like, you know, we did this in university, or I did at least, right? We have whatever. Econ 101, we study that, then that's finished, okay, forget it, on to the next thing, right? Ticking off our boxes? No. Especially this, when we're studying Buddha Dharma, it's, you know, cumulative in nature. Everything that we study, we should be building on each other. And it's especially good when we can draw the connections between the different texts that we have studied. Right? What do you think? Okay, so that was a bit of the kind of yeah, a little bit, you know, just to show I'm not a softie. Okay? Yeah? So that's the kind of negative side, right? The other side, right, is, you know, as I mentioned last night, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has said that all that he knows about bodhicitta, he learned from this text. You understand? Bodhicitta, this altruistic wish, totally focused on others, you know, wishing to attain enlightenment, wishing to achieve our highest potential, only so we can be of utmost benefit to others. You know? Can you imagine what life would be like if we have just this mind of compassion toward all sinning beings, seeing all sinning beings as our beloved child? You know, I have my other hypothesis, you know, even from a worldly perspective, that the happiest person in the world is His Holiness the Dalai Lama. You understand? So, how did he get like that? By training, and in particular, this training in compassion, bodhicitta. Okay? So, it's like, you know, I'm a bit of a tennis fan, but anyway, a few years ago, right, Roger Federer, you know? Yeah. Roger Federer, okay? He went on this gluten-free diet, okay? Then, like, all these people were like, oh, Roger Federer is going gluten-free, I'm going to go gluten-free. You know? It's become this big fad. Has it become a fad here in India? No. Not really, right? In the US, man, everywhere. Gluten-free this, gluten-free that. Okay, because Roger Federer did it, right? What do you think? And why, okay, even here in India, why do they pay these, you know, cricketers, right? Who's that one? With the milk, Nandini milk? Right? They pay them crores and crores, right? Because it's like the association, oh, I want to be like this guy. You know, oh, if I drink the Nandini milk, I'll be like this. So I'm going to drink that, right? If we didn't have that psychology, then the advertising industry wouldn't work, right? Okay, so now we're advertising, right? Like, imagine the billboard, right? His Holiness Dalai Lama smiling and, like, you know, practice bodhicitta. You understand? As he said, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Yeah. Think about it. It's a nice little, you know, how do you say, quotation. You can put it on a t-shirt, Okay, but more than that, you could think about this for a very long time. Meditate on just that one, you know? If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Very profound meditation you could have on that. You understand? So then, practice compassion. How do you do that? Right? It's not just to think, okay, I'm going to be compassionate. You need the tools, you need the method to transform the mind from where we are now, selfish, you know, lazy. You fill in the blank. You know that. You know how you are, right? So you see, this guide to a bodhisattva's way of life, it's like a training manual, right? It's a kind of how-to guide to transform ourselves from where we are to, you know, to become bodhisattvas and eventually Buddhas ourselves. So amazing. Do you guys appreciate this? Okay, I want you, whatever level of appreciation, don't lose it, and it should increase more and more. You know? And I said last night, and I like this, but I said last night, you know, we're in Bangalore, a city of 10 million people, right? And last night, there were 9 people who came. Which means that the people who came, it's like 1 in a million. And that's just in Bangalore. You know? Where this type of teaching is legal. This type of teaching is available. Other parts of the world is not. So can you imagine? You know, in the world, how many people are, okay, first of all, even just interested in learning about Dharma, then, even if they're interested in learning about Dharma, learning about, you know, bodhicitta, and then have the, you know, access to teachings, even from a very bad teacher, right? But to even have access to teachings in a language they understand and all these things, it is just unbelievable. So, now that you have this opportunity, please make the most of it. Okay? Okay? So I did both ways, right? Okay? So now, depending on you, right, then in the future, I'm going to emphasize one of those ways more to encourage you, right? Because I do think, you know, I'm not just a teacher, but I also, for whatever reason, I have to be your cheerleader, you know? Well, ideally I'd be more like a coach, but also, you know, if it would help you guys study and meditate, I'll be there with the, you know, the pom-poms. Yeah, you guys? Okay? Is that enough? For now. Yes? Alright. So actually, the basis for this course is this root text, the Bodhisattva Charyavatara by Shantideva. And within the FPMT basic program, they have asked, or kind of suggested, I don't know what the right word is, but that there's one commentary by Gyaltsab Je, who is one of the main disciples of Lama Tsongkhapa. They suggested that we use that commentary. At this point, that commentary is not translated into English, right? Maybe the first chapter is that right? Only the first chapter. But there is this text. I'm just going to do some advertising, get it out of the way. The Nectar of Manjushri's Speech by Kunsang Pelden is published here in New Delhi, so you get a rupee's price, not a dollar's price. It's very well done. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, when he teaches the text, he will refer to this text a lot. The Gyaltsab Je text, it's great, but you know, in as much as we can, whatever text that we're studying, in as much as we can, consult other commentaries and so forth. That's very good. It enriches our learning experience. Okay? So, Nectar of Manjushri's Speech by Kunsang Pelden. It was translated by the Padmakara Translation Group, and it is published by Sechen Publications in New Delhi. So this is a great text. I would strongly encourage you to see if you can get one. So, Sveta, are you already looking on Amazon if they have? And is it there?
Yes, 2,140 rupees.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No.
30% off.
No. It is published by Sechen Publications in New Delhi. So that is probably the US edition. Okay?
Yeah, probably.
So this, it's list price at $6.90. Okay?
So this one is unavailable.
So try to find Sechen Publications in New Delhi. www.shechen.org. Okay? Sechen. And see if we can get the Indian editions. Maybe someone who works here can help with that. Okay?
Yeah, I'll try to get.
Just
Anyone who needs it,
we
can
do all that later.
And there is also a Kindle edition.
Oh,
More or less same price.
more or less same price? What does that mean?
2,030.
Okay. Actually, okay, so hold on. It would be worth every paisa. Okay? So I'm not saying that. Okay? I'm just saying, you know, if there is, you know, because I know people are on a budget, you know, life is expensive. Samsara is expensive. So, you know, if and when we can get the Indian editions of things, it's fine. Okay? It's good. Okay. Anyway, why am I talking about all this? I was just going to now just share how I'm going to proceed with the text. Until we have that discussion as to, you know, what level of depth we want to go into, okay? What level of kind of commitment you guys can bring to the table. What I thought to do is mainly teach from the root text itself, okay? And since our Tibetan books are now kind of covered up, I mean, you can't get access. I actually don't know if we have the Gyaltsab Je commentary in Tibetan. Okay? in the future, there might be parts where I will consult the Gesub J commentary. His Holiness the Dalai Lama also has given a commentary on this many times, and it has been kind of collected and published in Tibetan language. And so I will consult that as well. And
There is
then,
one commentary available by His Holiness.
and then in certain parts, I will also consult this text, okay, by Kunsang Pelden. Okay? Okay. So, you know, in this text by Kunsang Pelden, he also went through, you know, how the Dharma is taught. He talked about the author of the text. Then he talked about how disciples should attend to the teachings. So basically following the same tradition as the Vikramadashila monastery. Okay? Now, for the actual text. First, there usually is always a explanation of the title. Okay? So, the title here, Bodhisattva Charyavatara in Sanskrit. And then, in Tibetan, Janchu Sempe Chepa La Jupa. Okay? So, Jangchup is Bodhi, or enlightenment. Okay? Sempa, or Sattva, is translated as a heroic being. Right? Charya, yeah, is Chepa, or activities. Yes? And Jukpa, Avatara, entrance. As we mentioned yesterday, right? Jukpa, okay? We see that also in the Majjhimika Avatara, yeah? Jukpa, yes? And in that, see, this Jukpa or Avatara can mean entering, engaging, or a supplement, okay? Who is doing the master's program with Geshe Dojo Namjong? Okay, so that, in the Majjhimika Avatara, what is the preferred translation of Avatara?
Entering it.
Supplement.
Yeah, I think it should be supplement. Because, anyway, this is just for you guys. You see, in that text, Chandrakirti, okay, first you guys should all know this, right? In the Majjhimika Avatara, what does the Majjhimika refer to?
Middle way.
Fundamental wisdom of the middle way. By
Right.
Nagarjuna.
The treatise composed by Nagarjuna, the fundamental, how do you say, wisdom of the middle way. Okay? Right? Yes? So, sorry, those are, this is just for imprints for you guys later, right? So, the Mula Majjhimika composed by Nagarjuna, in that, the Majjhimika is what?
Middle way philosophy.
Middle way philosophy, okay? Then, the Majjhimika Avatara, the middle way is?
Is
The
a
treatise?
supplement to the
Is the treatise composed by Nagarjuna. Okay? So what Chandrakirti is doing, right, he is then supplementing Nagarjuna's text by then showing how the thought of Nagarjuna is kind of uncommon and unshared, right? The unshared parts, the uncommon parts related to the tenet system of the the Chitta Matras and the Swachantika Majjhimikas. Okay? You guys understand? Because at the time when Nagarjuna composed the Mula Majjhimika, the Swachantika Majjhimikas and the Chitta Matras weren't taken as the kind of person that he was arguing against. Right? Right? So then, first Nagarjuna came, he wrote the Mula Majjhimika. Then subsequent to that, Asanga came and expounded the Chittamatra school. Then after that, the kind of the Prasangika and the Swachantika kind of came about, right? So how that came about was first Buddhapalita gave a commentary on the Mula Majjhimika, right? And then after him, Bhavaviveka found fault with Buddhapalita, saying that the way that you've commentated here is inappropriate and it has all these faults. Then after that, Chandrakirti came and said, actually, Bhavaviveka, you're wrong. Buddhapalita's commentary is fine how it is, and your commentary has these faults. Okay? So then this supplement to the middle way, right, is then supplementing the original Mula Majjhimika by Nagarjuna and showing how Nagarjuna's thought actually is in accordance with the Prasangika Majjhimika and showing the differences between that view, which is Nagarjuna's real thought, and the Chittamatra school and the Swachantika Majjhimika school. Okay? You guys understand? Okay. Okay. So, then it's very clear, kakong, they say in Tibetan. Kakong, it's like adding, right? Like supplementing, right? So, why am I getting into all this, right? We're talking about the title of the text. And avatara, in the context of Majjhimika avatara, I think it's clear it should be supplement to the middle way. Okay? But in this context, the avatara, jukpa, it should be more engaging in the activities of a bodhisattva, right? Or entering into the ways of a bodhisattva, right? Okay? Anyway. Because what this shows is how to engage in the activities of a bodhisattva. Okay? How to enter into the ways of a bodhisattva. Okay? Okay, so now, just so we know, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, but this Bodhisattva, Bodhi is enlightenment, right? And so it's worth just getting some of this terminology out of the way at the beginning, okay? I referred to a few times, this liberation and enlightenment. Right? Liberation and enlightenment. So, you should know that these two things are distinct in nature. Okay? We were talking about samsara. Okay? So, many of you know this already, but I'm going to just make clear for the sake of the newcomers. Okay? So, what is samsara? But samsara is the process of rebirth, uncontrolled rebirth, due to our karma and afflictions, karma and klesha. Okay? So just to illustrate, okay? If we don't get liberated from samsara in this life, then at our time of death, as our consciousness, our gross consciousness starts to absorb, okay? Before we pass on from this life, you know, we will see that we're about to, you know, cease existing, and then a kind of grasping mind will arise, grasping to our own existence. This grasping mind then will activate a previously stored karmic propensity, which will then kind of have the potency to propel another rebirth. Okay? So that's why they say the two causes of this uncontrolled rebirth are the karma and the afflictions. Of the two, the afflictions are the primary cause. Okay? Because, you see, even the people who attained nirvana, or liberation from samsara, they still have countless karmic imprints within their continuum. But, just like if a seed doesn't meet with water and heat, moisture, all those things, fertilizer, it won't sprout, right? Similarly, these karmic seeds, if they don't get activated by the afflictions, will not propel or project another rebirth. Okay? By the way, how those karmic imprints are accumulated in the first place is because we have afflictions, karma. Klesha. Right? Anyway, so those afflictions play the major role in both the accumulation of new karma and the activation of previously accumulated karmic imprints when we take the next rebirth. Okay? So that is samsara. Now, nirvana is just the cessation of samsara. Okay? It is an absence of samsara, where we, through a means of practice, we can come to abandon all of the afflictions, all of the afflictive emotions, disturbing emotions, the klesha. Yes? How? Well, the root of the afflictions is a particular type of ignorance that projects a type of existence onto phenomena above and beyond what is actually there. We'll get to this in a few months in detail. But for now, you see, all phenomena exist, okay? Conventional worldly phenomena, they exist. But the way they exist is not the way that they appear to us. Okay? Just to give some hint, some clue. When we consider the I, the self, right? Maybe just think about it like this for now. We think, okay, my body, my mind, right? So there seems to be an I that is a possessor, possessing the possessions of body and mind, right? But if I am the possessor of, my rosary and the book, right? We can distinguish between the possessions and the possessor, right? Now, does it work in the same case with the I, the possessor of the body and the mind? Think about that. Anyway, what the Buddha says, right, don't take my word for it, but is we have a fundamental misconception, misapprehension about how the self exists. The self does exist, but the way it exists, we have a fundamental confusion about. And then this fundamental confusion then, fuels all the other, or forms the basis of all the other afflictive emotions. Because we think of this kind of independent I, then the things that we see harming that I, irritating us, we get angry. We want to, harm back. The things that we see kind of helping the I, we have grasping attachment towards, right? Then with these afflictive emotions, we then, motivated by anger, then harm, kill. Motivated by attachment, we then, steal and whatever, do other negative actions, creating karma. Okay? You understand? So, in short, again, the definition of samsara is the continuum of uncontrolled rebirth, projected by karma and afflictions, karma and klesha. Okay? Nirvana is, the absence of samsara when, through a process of analyzing how the self and other phenomena actually exist, we discover the kind of ultimate reality, which then forms a direct antidote to the misapprehension of the self. By realizing and then continually meditating, we can come to abandon the false view of the self completely, along with its seeds, or the potential for it to arise again in our mental continuum. When the ignorance grasping onto the self is abandoned, actually all the other afflictive emotions are abandoned. And when those are abandoned, as I was saying, even though we would still have karmic imprints, they no longer meet with the cooperative conditions to project another rebirth. Therefore, those things are simultaneous. You understand? The attainment of nirvana and the abandonment of the afflictive emotions are simultaneous. Okay?
So what happens to those karmic imprints? Do they just remain there forever? Do we have to work on them at some point?
Okay. So just okay. So that is nirvana. Okay? But what I was saying at the beginning, right, of this paragraph or this chapter, right? I was going to define samsara, right? Liberation and enlightenment. So we've done two of those three. Okay? Now, we then differentiate between the mere attainment of liberation or nirvana with full enlightenment. Okay? Because, well, you see, at that point when one has attained nirvana, okay, there's the ignorance grasping to true existence, okay, which is a mind that kind of believes or assents to the way that things appear. Okay? This is a mind. Then I was talking about the seeds. The seeds of grasping to true existence. Okay? Those are not minds, but rather are potential for that mind of grasping to true existence to arise again in the future. Okay? So, to attain nirvana, one abandons both the grasping to true existence and its seeds. means it can no longer arise again in the future. Okay? But then there's something even more subtle, which is the bakchak in Tibetan, or the imprints. Okay? And this, we normally give the analogy of, like, you know, if we cut up onions and garlic and put it into a plastic Tupperware container, right? Close it, maybe put it in the sun, right? Then take it off, throw it out, the smell will still be there, right? Okay? Although there's no more onions and garlic in that container, the smell is still there. Okay? So that you can kind of think of as the imprints. Okay? Those imprints, okay, you know, just like then you couldn't make, I don't know, like a onion dosa, right? If you just have that container, right? So in a similar way, those bakcha, or those imprints, they'll no longer, they can't ripen as true existence, but they form the basis of the appearance of true existence. Things will still appear to exist truly, even to people who have abandoned true existence and their seeds. Okay? So, let me put it another way. How things appear to us right now, to our eye consciousness, okay? It appears exactly like this, even to someone who's attained nirvana. You understand?
What is the difference then?
The difference! Okay. So here is a, you know, the analogy that is also given in many texts. Okay? The analogy of, and I think you've heard this before, the magician. Okay? So a magician, how the analogy goes, takes, like, you know, a pebble and a stick and something, right? Recites some mantra, puts some powder in the air, right? And then everyone in the audience, they see, like, on the table, there's an elephant and a horse, right? And everyone's like, wow, right? Okay? So now, you see, there's the appearance of the elephant and the horse to everyone who the mantra and the powder has affected. Okay? So the people in the audience, they have the appearance of a horse and elephant, and they believe, well, yeah, I think, they would believe in the horse and elephant, and they'll be amazed. Okay? So now, the magician, her eye consciousness is also affected by the powder and the mantra. So she sees the horse and the elephant, but she knows it's just a trick. Okay? Then, maybe some of you are like that. The people who come late. Okay? The magic show starts at 10 a.m. on Sunday. But then the people are like, magic show, I gotta have my eggs Benedict first. So they roll in at 10:30. Right? So those people who come late, their eyes haven't been affected by the magic powder, nor the mantra. So they don't have the appearance of the horse and the elephant. And of course, no appearance, then why would they believe? Right? Okay. So in this way, the analogy then goes to, you know, there's the analogy and then the meaning. Okay? So that is analogous to ordinary beings who haven't realized emptiness. It's like the people whose eyes have been affected and believe. Okay? Now, there's a couple ways of explaining, but let me just say this. We first are completely in the throes of ignorance. we have a false appearance and we believe in the appearance is true. Okay? Then, if we have sufficient merit, someone might come to us and say, hey, wait a minute. I know things appear in this way, but does it make sense? You know? Like someone maybe, right? If all of a sudden, like I put some rice on the table and then an elephant and a horse appeared, wouldn't you guys be like, wait a minute, come on, how can that happen? Right? So, in the same way, you know, one would maybe meet with a teacher who would then poke holes maybe, or just inquire. Actually, the way things appear to us, is that realistic? Is that possible? Right? Is there this independent I that is, you know, separate from the body and mind, that is somehow controlling it? Does that make sense? And then we inquire, right? You know, as the great Indian Master Shantideva says in the 400 stanzas, those with little merit do not even doubt this doctrine, but even entertaining a doubt about emptiness tears the foundation of samsara to shreds. Right? So, you know, I mean, sorry, it's kind of like the Matrix, you know? The Matrix. Most people, total, you know, ignorance is bliss. Right? Then you start to, you know, investigate. Hey, is this real? Right? Then even that inquiry, as you inquire more and more, you first get to a conceptual understanding of emptiness. Then with repeated familiarization and meditation, then that conceptual understanding at one point becomes a direct realization. Okay? Now, at the time of a direct realization of emptiness, okay, it is like emptiness is appearing just like our eyes. These are direct perceivers. Our eyes, you know, I don't know if you've studied the Lorik, but, you know, there's a direct perception, like my eye consciousness perceiving the glass, versus a conceptual perception of, you know, like on a faraway mountain pass, we can see the smoke but we can't see the fire, but we can infer the existence of fire on the basis of seeing the smoke, right? That's a conceptual realization of the fire on the mountain pass. Because we don't see the fire. It doesn't appear to us. Only the smoke does. But yet we can realize it. Okay? So first we realize emptiness in a conceptual way, then later we realize it in a direct way. At that time of the direct realization of emptiness, no phenomena appear. Sorry, no conventional phenomena appear to the mind. It's only emptiness. And actually, even the kind of subject-object duality of the subject, the eye consciousness, and the object, the glass, being separate, also disappears. Okay? So at that time, you understand? No conventional phenomena exist. Sorry, appear. Okay? And therefore, no true existence is appearing at that time. Okay? So that is like the latecomer. There's no appearance of true existence and there's no belief. Okay? Now, that's just our first direct realization of emptiness. So after we get up from that meditative equipoise, the appearance is just like before. Things appear just like before. But what is the difference? This is like the magician. Appearance, but no belief. So it's that's why they call it the illusion-like post-meditative equipoise. Okay? So, only the Buddhas, you know, have then abandoned
fully the imprints of true existence, or the grasping to true existence. Now, actually, just a mere appearance, okay, if we are like the magician and we don't believe in it, we're not going to get into so much trouble. So the main point isn't that we have these appearances so much, but those imprints are actually what we call the obscurations to omniscience. Okay? Whereas the grasping to true existence and its seeds are the obscurations to liberation, right? Means they're the main thing that prevents the attainment of liberation, right? The main thing that prevents the attainment of full enlightenment or omniscience is these imprints of grasping to true existence. Okay? Now, the appearance of true existence is just a symptom of having those imprints, right? But we need to get rid of, the root, which is these imprints. That is done through, again and again, meditating on emptiness, conjoined with the mind of bodhicitta. Okay? So, by the way, these people who have attained liberation from samsara, they've realized emptiness. They've realized the fundamental, ultimate nature of reality, but they don't have this mind of bodhicitta. The altruistic wish to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. What do they think? They have, okay, this is just, how do I say? There's some exceptions. If we were debating it, I would say something else. But just for now, understand, there's some people who then just think, I have to get rid of, I have to get out of samsara. I need to get liberated from this mess. What is the cause of samsara? Karma and afflictions. What is the root cause of all that? The afflictions. What is the root of the root? Grasping to a self. Okay, I'm going to analyze how the self exists. Right? Then they just, with a mind, with a motivation to gain liberation from samsara, for myself alone. So I can be liberated from samsara. They then meditate on the ultimate nature of reality, and thereby they attain liberation from samsara, right? So that's what's motivating them, this wish for personal liberation. That is, in contradistinction to the bodhisattvas, who think, actually, just for myself to attain liberation from samsara is not sufficient. I need to attain full enlightenment, the omniscient mind, because only when I have fully perfected all my good qualities and attain that state of omniscience, all-knowing, then and only then will I be able to guide people and lead people, teach people in the right way. So they, can attain enlightenment as quickly as possible. Right? Okay? So, the main object of abandonment of a person desiring mere liberation from samsara is grasping to a self, the grasping to a self, and its seeds. But the main obstacle of abandonment, or what they wish to abandon for a bodhisattva, is the imprints of grasping to true existence. Okay? So, Aban, thank you for your patience. Okay? All of those then, those karmic seeds that were then in the body, in the mental continuum, right? They no longer exist in the state of Buddha, right? But one doesn't even after one becomes an Arya Bodhisattva, it's not like we're doing extra work thinking, I have to get rid of these karmic imprints, per se. The main thing is the imprints of true existence, grasping to true existence. Okay? Those are abandoned, on the Mahayana path. Okay? Alright. So, Sadhana, thank you for your patience as well.
No patience for me.
Okay. So, is that okay? It's important. Why was I talking about all this stuff? Huh? Because I want to confuse you? No. Why? Because Bodhisattva, Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life, I'm talking about the title of this text. So Bodhi, we had to talk about what Bodhi is. To understand what Bodhi is, we have to distinguish it from its, third cousin, liberation. And to understand liberation, we have to know what it is abandoning, samsara. So that's why I gave those explanations of samsara, liberation, and enlightenment. So now, a bodhisattva is one who, he or she does see all the faults of samsara, but doesn't wish to attain mere liberation for his or herself, but rather wants to attain full enlightenment so they can be of utmost benefit for sentient beings. So this mind, willing to forego personal liberation, but instead is intent, maybe obsessed with the attainment of full enlightenment so they can be of utmost benefit for sentient beings, that mind is the mind of bodhicitta. Bodhi, again, enlightenment. Citta is mind. It's the mind aspiring toward enlightenment. Someone who has not yet attained full enlightenment, but has an uncontrived mind of bodhicitta, is a bodhisattva. Understand? Okay. Then, it's not enough just to wish, okay, I want to be enlightened. Give it to me, Buddha. Right? Rather, one has to train. Okay? The attainment of enlightenment is an effect, and it has a cause. What is the cause? Well, in general they talk about there's the two accumulations. The accumulation of merit and the accumulation of transcendental wisdom. Okay? But what is then actually practiced by the Mahayana practitioner is the so-called 6 perfections. Right? We talked about this last night. Generosity, ethical discipline, patience, enthusiastic perseverance or effort, meditation, and wisdom. Okay? Those 6 perfections are the main practice of a bodhisattva, one aspiring toward enlightenment. The result of those 6 perfections means they're accumulating either the collection of merit or transcendental wisdom, and then those accumulations are what becomes the cause for attaining enlightenment. Okay? So when we say, Janchub Senpe Chupa La Jupa, the chupa is the conduct. Yeah? The conduct of a bodhisattva is practicing the 6 perfections. Okay? Then, jupa, how to engage, how to enter into the bodhisattva conduct. That is what is explicated in this text. It's going to talk about the 6 perfections. First it's going to talk about bodhicitta. Then it talks about the 6 perfections and how to practice the 6 perfections. Okay? us have a short break.